Hello, my subscribers, you marvelous, magnificent, magnetic people. Today was an interesting day because I woke up in a lot of pain and discomfort. Could barely walk because of shifting things inside my neck, my spine, throwing out my sacrum, my hips, the connection to the floor. But it's kind of a standard affair over these last however many years of being in discomfort. But today was a particular doozy. And I begin that statement or that expression on this video because after the practice, especially after going into the garden, standing on the grass, doing the warm-up set, the flavors and the Spinal 8, I automatically felt better. The fabric started to gather around and release its attachment to being stiff and the alignments that had arisen overnight. And then after the sitting practice, as in the sitting prep work and then sitting, my word, everything felt so much better, like magically better, like marvelously, magnetically, meaningfully better. So my point to you is that sometimes practice does uncover things which are deeply uncomfortable, and those uncomfortable things can be physical, mental, emotional, psychic, spiritual. But practice seems to help. It creates the container in which you can then dissolve, assimilate, reduce, examine, integrate, digest those things. I know you know this already, but it's a note of encouragement. And how does that apply to the Spinal 8? Well, when I wrote about porridge, brambles, and IKEA, as someone says, it's almost as though you step back from practice in a way. You do the practice, but you are removing one's expectation. I remove my expectation. And in so doing, look at the practice as a whole and realize that the practice is really difficult, or it's really joyous, or it begins incredibly painfully, but then with gentle persistence, kind persistence, something aligned, something begins to move that hasn't moved before, and the body adjusts around it. And when the body adjusts around it, it feels fantastic. But if I hadn't got into the practice, if I had been too predisposed to the, sorry about that, was a bit of a struggle, wasn't it? Really attached to the discomfort and going, I should rest, I should do this, as opposed to gently meeting it within the crucible of my practice, I would not be in the place I am now. And I've been very active already. I have smashed a hole into a floor because of a leaking water pipe. I've been very active. Whereas at the beginning of this day, could barely get out of bed. Practice helps. How do we do that within the Spinal 8? Let's take a look. As I said in the public video, well, make sure the stance is right. I go for a fist width and a half, as opposed to 2. I don't recommend this because then you're out of alignment. It's almost as though the connection of the body to the feet isn't quite there. So looking at the simple things, that's what I would say. The more advanced you are, return to the simple things and grow them. So looking at that stance, and then when you do the opening to the warm-up set, which is the opening to the Spinal 8, really make sure that all of those connections are snug and as tight as they can be. So the doesn't have to be a big shape, because when I started, my hips were very painful, my back was incredibly painful, so therefore it was kind of this. All the movement did was gather the fabric. And just that shifting of body weight allowed the fabric to become less starchy, less stuck. and allowed it to move a little bit more and integrate a little bit more. And then once I had the structure and this movement here allowed the fabric to open up around my shoulders, the upper back, which then eased the stiffness in my sacrum. Really being in the floor, coming into this, and then this transition, gaining the support of my legs and the squeeze of my arms really helped me get some firm, comforting connection from my midriff, from my ribs, into my hips, down through the spirals in the legs into the horseshoe of the feet, making the journey up much better. Here, there was barely any back bend, but the movement felt amazing. Just that feeling of gripping the outside of the body, holding the fabric really tight so that the inside has the security to let go and expand felt amazing. So in the morning, it felt and looked like this, whereas now, I could go much deeper. I don't want to because everything's still a bit fragile, but the change in space was profound because softness is your superpower. Everything else felt really nice. The movements of the twists just felt delightful as I began to get more movement of the outside of the body and the counter twist in the bowl. Amazing. The swimming just felt wonderful because what was stiff and wouldn't move was now beginning to move within the framework of my structure. And the last one, all the clunks and bumps and grinds that came out of my spine would have been great in a dance track. Should try that one day. So, the pertinent point is practice can really help. It does really help. But sometimes, often, most of the time, some people, not myself, struggle to get past their own discomfort and to get into practice. So this video is not so much of an instructional video, but hopefully one of some inspiration. Because if you do the practice, it does really transform you. And it does so sometimes in alarming ways because something shifts and then the entire thing, everything around you shifts. You can apply that to relationship, you can apply that to work, you can apply that to your body, you can apply that to food. So good luck with practice. Let me know if you want to, how it's going on. I know one or two of you have, and I very much appreciate it. In the meantime, I think we will have kind of a week off where I talk about something I'm quite passionate about. A little bit tinfoil hat, but worth the read. That'll be next week, and also a video on, I think, just a beautiful posture that I love. And then I think we're going to go to WAG, another sequence of 8 moves, but just a delightful one, just as a bit of a break and a bit of freedom and a bit of, fun flow. So that's it from me to my subscribers. I appreciate you very much and the time you would have spent listening to my ramble. It is my hope that some part of my delight and wonder in life and practice has been imparted. Until next week, bye-bye.